Now, we're just going to go right to Al Bandiero, our guest this evening, our guest host. Al, what do you think? So, is this interesting stuff?
Yeah, I remember reading an article, actually. They found I think it was New Orleans, they had an article out, company that was building homes needed men to work. And on the bottom of it, it says, do not hire Italians.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And every once in a while on Facebook, you'll see it, that they found it from whatever time. And there was also another time in New Orleans that they hung 11 Italians.
Yeah, they lynched them.
Yes. At one time because of a crime that they did not commit.
The largest
but the pressure was on. I believe it was a sheriff that was killed. And they blamed someone who was Italian.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there are many instances in the history of this country that a lot of people don't realize that many different backgrounds suffered.
Yeah.
Then they start taking the vowels off their last names,
Yeah.
changing their last names too,
Uh-huh.
to get jobs, to
Yeah.
work. Right.
I had
Sinatra didn't.
I have a cousin who is very successful in the music business. Wanted to go into a partnership with a friend of his to start a record label. And his father-in-law, from what we were told, loaned him the money to go in. And his father-in-law said, you could do whatever you want to do, but I would suggest that you drop the last letter on your name, because there's a lot of people that will not deal with you. And he did, and became
How long ago was
hugely
that, if you don't mind me
successful.
asking? Do you remember?
You get it
It's
through
weird that
you
you
get it
just
through the
say-
families, the
Right.
stories, and usually with Italian families, 99% of it is incorrect, because they also want to they want to top each other. No, it was 20 years. No, it was in 30. So I'm going to guess it was at least 30, 35 years ago.
Wow.
But he went on to be hugely successful, and you never put the two names together. He just dropped the O, so instead of Bandiero, it was Bandier.
Oh.
Wow.
So I see the credits going up on a Saturday morning show, and I went, wow, I never saw that before without the O. So I called my dad, and I said, did they make a mistake when they wrote the name out? He said, oh, no. Then he told me the story.
And it's
So-
not even that long ago.
No,
No, it's not that long.
If you
Even
think
if it's
about it,
30,
no.
Even if it's 40 years ago.
Well, the Jewish community did the
1980.
same
They
thing.
do the same thing, really.
The Jewish community
Right?
did the same
Yeah.
thing with their names, especially in Hollywood and in
Oh,
film
yeah.
and music
Yeah.
industry. They didn't want to be labeled or connected, so they would change their names entirely,
They would change it completely.
change it completely.
Wow.
Wow. But,
Crazy.
so, Al, I got to ask you. Rocky IV. I mean, I'm a big fan of what you did. You were like, Rocky IV was it. I mean, I watched it the other night. I had to, because back then you were like everywhere. I mean, every 92 KTU. Every time we went out. I mean, Al Bandiero was a name we heard constantly. And it really was. And
Whether you wanted to or not.
yeah, and listen,
Believe me, we wanted to.
cruising Bloomfield Avenue in Newark,
Oh, my
when
God.
that was like big
Going to
time.
New York, how come
Your
on?
name must
Jersey?
have ran out of people's cars out in the street. Like it was just. What have you been doing lately? I mean,
Well, once I left radio,
why'd you leave radio?
I don't know who's listening, but
I don't want to tell.
you just
Fuck them. You're with us now.
there comes a time in your life where something else becomes of interest to you, and if you don't have passion for something that you had for most of your life, and something else comes in, and now you have passion for that. For
It's a
me,
new passion, yeah.
the people that did have the passion when I was doing radio were not being hired anymore. So you either go with the flow or you go where your
Like
passion
this.
is. Yeah. And it just got to, I had a wonderful run. I was very happy with it. And you go on your own terms, when you say, you know what, I want to go in this direction now. But the great thing about Facebook and all these things is that people bring back memories constantly, all the time. You talked about Rocky IV. From my knowledge, out of all of them, that's the one that gets played more than any of
Yep.
them. And obviously because of
Definitely.
America and the Russians.
Yeah.
That's never going to go away.
Yeah.
But my question to you is, your name was mentioned in your actual name was mentioned in the movie.
Yeah, and
that
I'll
was
tell you how that
because
came about. When I got the script, Sly came into New York, Stallone came into New York, and I had known him already. When I was on KTU, they had a sequel to Saturday Night Fever called Staying Alive.
Right.
So in those days, the program director would literally get an album brought in from a record company, and he would walk it into whoever's on the air.
say, play
Now there's got to be 72 tests, and is this right? Is that before we just went with our gut? Do you like this or not? Let's put it on. So he walked in with the album, and he said, "Listen to the album and pick something that you like on the album." So I picked a song that was called "Far From Over," which was Sly's brother's Frank.
Frank.
And nobody had played it yet. And I said, "This is the one." He said, "Go ahead, play it." And it exploded. Now, usually in the music business, you start getting your records played in small markets, and then it builds. It never goes the other way where you play it on the top station in the country, and then everybody else is on it. But that day, he just said, "Play it."
Wow.
So Sly had found out about it, and when he came into New York, he wanted to meet, which was, to me, a dream.
That was a beautiful
You know,
thing.
yep. Then, where I was living in Manhattan, he said, "Are there any apartments in your building? I'm looking for a penthouse, maybe in Manhattan." I said, "Yeah, we have some." So we went up, and he took a look at it, and it was too small. Which, I said, "God bless you if this is too small." And we went into this room that was like a party room for only people in the building. And there was nobody in there, and we sat, and he said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "Well, I still want to do this." And he said, "If I ever have something, I'll let you know." And people, it goes in one ear. Yeah, sure, he's going to let me know. And the next trip in, he called me and he said, "Meet me." So we met, and he said, "I want you to be the ring commentator." And I, well, wow. Oh, okay. I said, I know nothing about calling a fight. He said, "It's okay." He said, "You know your way around a mic. Don't worry about it. I'll
all
write."
right.
So when I got the script from him, it was commentator number 1 and commentator number 2. So when we went there, I said, "Well, what's my name? Well, what's the character's name?" And he stopped for a second and he said, "Use your real name because this is going to go all over the world."
Wow.
Nice.
wow.
Good call, Sly.
So I went, "Oh, okay."
Beautiful.
So, and then and I still get people talking
Nice.
about that. So I'm very fortunate that he just took a liking. He could have had 1 million people. He was actually not supposed to have me in there because SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, I wasn't a part of at that time. And they wanted, which is what you're supposed to do, they wanted their people to have it. So Sly got around it by saying, "Well, he's an expert behind the mic, so I need him in there." I wasn't an expert
Didn't matter.
with calling a fight.
It was his baby.
But he
Didn't
went to
matter.
bat.
Right.
He went to bat for me, and it was, that thrill. Every time it's on, I never watch it because I walk away.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I walk away. My wife will watch it. She'll tape it 14 times.
What's the matter with him?
She sees
He
it.
taped it the other
I
day and
didn't
put it on
realize
group
how many
text.
times I watched it again. I remember when they mentioned you in the beginning. But I watched the fight. You're in it many times. So it keeps going back and forth to the
he's,
comments.
if you are a Rocky IV fan, right now he's doing a director's cut.
Oh,
That the movie company allowed him to redo it. So there's a couple of things that one thing he took out that he never liked. If you remember, there's a robot in the scene where it's Paulie's.
Paulie,
yeah.
He's washing his car. It's his birthday
He
present,
said,
right?
"I
It was his
hated
birthday
that robot."
present.
So they gave him a director's cut. So he's now taken that out, and he made the announcement. But now he's working on my scene with the fight between him and the Russian. So I think he's going to make the scene a little longer.
Oh, nice.
So
Nice.
there's stuff in there that hopefully he'll put even more stuff back in.
I'm
there.
sure.
That's awesome.
I'm sure because if I watched it, because I'm an editor, so watching it and seeing the cuts, you look like in certain scenes you were about to say something. So I'm sure they
Yeah,
did.
and then they cut.
Yeah.
So I think for time wise, but I walk out of the room when it comes on.
You
I'll
remember
watch it
what-
sometimes up to that scene, but then I'll leave, and my wife will, where are you going?
That's crazy.
I leave because
Do you remember the
I knew
moments?
nothing about acting at that time.
So
So
what?
now that you are acting, you look at it. I do. Other people, I cringe when I look at that. Oh, why'd you do that? All actors do
Yeah,
that.
you criticize.
But
I thought he looked great.
Me too.
Natural.
You're being yourself.
Wow, yeah.
Probably your best work. You weren't acting.
That was
Yeah,
fantastic.
right.
You got to do a big picture.
You're a
Look at
natural,
that.
right?
But it was that was clearly a thrill to watch him, because it took 2 weeks to shoot that for a scene that's on maybe 8 minutes. I don't know. He took 2 weeks.
crazy.
So I had to be at that table for everything. So to watch him work at that time, where he was the best of the best, around the world.
Do you have
But
your original script?
it's framed and
nice.
And there's even on one of my pages, when Drago hits him and the blood comes out, it's spilled out of his mouth on the page.
wow.
So I went for a second to clean it, and I went,
No, leave that.
let it
Don't touch
dry.
that.
So I watched him in action
great,
of just directing, because I had no idea that years later I would be acting. But what I learned from how he did things, that I took it to when I go and do something now, all that comes back to me that, in a million years I would never think.
Now,
that I
what
would
would
be doing.
happen if you actually took that script and you photoed it and you posted that? You think they'd have a problem with it?
You mean online?
Yeah.
There's certain things I would never do. Like
That's one of them.
Right.
That's one of them. That's a personal thing. He also gave me something that was very important during the shoot. The shorts that he's wearing, I have them.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and he gave them to me, and we framed it. So that
those going up on
and
eBay.
and people said, "Well, why don't you have him sign your name?" And I said, "No, it's put it up as it is, as he wore it."
Wow.
That's your personal precious
Yeah, so
moment.
he was incredibly kind to me. So when I do hear things about him, he never treated me anything other than in his home. Many times we just would sit and just talk, about life. I'm sure that a vowel on the end of my name didn't hurt.
It helped in this matter.
That one time it didn't hurt. But what I learned from him was, and to know inside stories of his struggle. And if you know anything about the movie business now, like for our movies that we're doing, we raise the money independently. So you go to wealthy people, and for what we offer in our films now, it's a lot better than putting your money on Wall Street, especially after yesterday. So what we give back to investors is much more than Wall Street does. So they're now looking to put it in different areas. And back then, he used to talk to me about doing this thing that's impossible, but we love it. That's what we do.
Mike Marino, what's going on?
I'm
very
allowing
quiet.
the man to talk. I'm a professional.
You were doing some thinking. I was watching
You
you.
think I'm like every other Italian that jumps on the other guy's joke? I'm letting him do his thing. I'm waiting my turn. I'm noticing shit while I'm here. I'm the only one with a microphone that don't got the COVID cover. You trying to kill me? You got me by the light that's burning out my retina. Got me sitting behind a piece of wood that remind me of Thanksgiving down in the basement with the family. I don't want to interrupt.
There were
the guy.
good days, though.
They were the best.
They were
days.
good days, right.
I'm still eating in the basement.
I know
Nobody's there.
I want to tell you, we spoke before the show yesterday. Before we spoke yesterday, and they do have to leave. They have an issue I have to handle, and we just wanted to make sure we get our full interview with him.
That's why
we're
I
going to
said
get
go
to you.
ahead.
I just want you to know. I don't want you to think
I
we're
didn't say
ignoring you.
nothing.
You're New
You're
Jersey
wasting the
bad
guy's
boy.
time. Let him talk
Listen,
now.
you're not going nowhere tonight.
You'll
'cause-
even notice how I sit back.
Listen, we have in the contract. We have in the contract for Sunday that if you leave tonight, you didn't see that. We wrote it real small. If you leave early tonight, you don't get paid, and you still got to
We're okay.
perform.
We're
And you
okay.
still got to perform.
As long as I'm getting my $10 for this show, I'll be fine. And 2 slices of pizza, not 1. 2 pork chops.
Look, we're gonna have a cake for you to take home later too. Then we have a nice 200.
Uno, due, tre, asso!
But Al, I want to get back to Alvaro because I know they do have to leave, and I wanted to get as much as I
Well,
can.
I have to go look at the boss. We're still, we're okay.
Are we still good, boss?
We're okay, yeah.
All right, we're good.
Yes,
you
you're
are
the
now.
boss.
I wanted you to bring up
That's
what
my
you're doing
boss.
now, if you can speak about it, because I'm sure everybody watching is going to want to know what Al Bandiero is doing.
Well, we're doing, we have a production company. So my wife is a writer, so she writes everything we have of movies and TV shows. No reality, we're not into that. It's all scripted that we do. So right now on the table we have 3 projects. One of them is inspired by true events. It happened to a guy that I knew a long time ago. It's a crime drama. And just today, I guess you guys brought some good luck. We had a very serious offer from an investor who loved the script.
Congratulations.
Thank
Congratulations.
you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I know there's certain things
we
you can.
we got good news last week, but it was bad news at the same time. The good news was that we got it to Al Pacino, and he read it. So when I got that call, I said, I don't care what he thinks of it. It was in his hands.
Yeah.
My wife's words were in his hands, and he came back and said, "This is very well written." So when you see somebody at
beautiful
that
thing.
level and what he's done,
And you wrote it?
my wife writes
Oh,
everything. She's the writer.
That's why she's the boss. That's why she's the boss.
Yeah, the bad news is that when we're looking to shoot this, he wasn't available at that time. But I said to her, you know what? Hey, you have an icon that read your work, and an icon said, we like it. And then we have a TV drama that just again today it was like something happened today, whatever it was.
It was the Wiseguyz show.
It was
I
us.
guess so.
Energy.
And this is also a TV drama, and somebody who has a connection with Netflix said, I want to bring it to them because after he saw the trailer, he said this would fit perfectly.
Oh.
And then we have.
Oh, you have a trailer for it already?
Yeah, it's done. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
Is it available to view?
No,
or-
what we did was with the trailer, we made it what's called a pitch trailer.
Oh,
that
okay.
we just shot certain scenes, so when we can go to a network, we can show them what it's about.
Right.
In
Kinda like a
addition to-
pilot, kinda
yeah,
like
in
you do with a
addition,
pilot.
the pilot is written, but we haven't shot it yet.
Oh.
And then we have one more that'll be shot in New York, Miami, and Italy, and it is a Jason Bourne meets James Bond, but as a woman in the lead.
Oh.
So she's a weapons expert and can take anybody out.
Wow. Wow.
So those are the 3 that
It's a
we're running
twist.
with right
Hey,
now.
Artie, don't say anything, Artie.
Oh, Artie Hoffman's in the house. Our psychic, our official psychic, Artie Hoffman. Come on, let's hear it.
He's tuning into what you're saying too. I said, don't say.
So that's what we're running with right now. But I do get, talk to us about KTU and I get that a lot.
But Desire, you were on Desire, a TV series called Desire, and before I get to that though, I hang out at an Italian American club cafe in Newark, and someone's mentioned to me if you see him, just ask him this: does he remember going to the Big Top on Bloomfield Avenue in Newark? No. The Big Top was like another place to
But
hang out.
we were doing things in those days, so I might have been there, and I don't know.
It's possible you went with.
She's the only one that got it.
If it's possible if you went with Stallone because
Maybe.
Stallone's I don't know if it was his father or his uncle owned the bar like maybe 3 blocks up from that.
Well, when Sly used to come in, and he would call me to hang out, so I would take him to the clubs that we were going to in the city, and they would just leave him alone. We'd go into a VIP, and we would hang out, and it was cool. And we might have. I mean, we did crazy stuff where he had a car.
Well, if you went to the Big Top, it was crazy stuff.
Yeah, it was crazy stuff. So he'd say, "Yeah, where else? Where can we go?" And so we might have been
All
there.
right.
I don't remember.
I would just figure I'd relay a message, but
Okay.
But the '80s, you wrote. You worked in the '80s, and do you think that was the time, the '80s?
My wife asked me that question a lot.
I love the
Was
80s.
the best time of my life.
I think the '80s were
I would
unbelievable.
probably say
Listening
that,
to him,
if it
Girls
was
next to me. 92 KTU.
if there was abundance,
Forget about it.
if there was abundance, that would be a decade of abundance where
I fucking missed him.
I think
told you,
I
you
think
were born
that
a long time.
what went on during that time, I don't want to say it was innocent, but it was crazy.
Yeah.
But we survived it because I think that we got to a point where somebody in the crowd said, "Okay, back off a little bit. This is a little crazy." Or somebody would just watch you, one of your friends, and say, "Okay, you're getting a little crazy right now." I don't know if that's still happening anymore. I think it's how far can we push it? But you also had a responsibility to the radio station you were on, or if you were doing a movie, you wouldn't want to embarrass yourself or that facility that you were working in because you would hear about it, where that's different today. So I would probably say that, yeah, that was in abundance that decade. But it was a decade that was, it just came alive.
Yeah.
You know, it just
Music video.
music
Everything.
video,
Right.
everything.
Just everything.
You know,
Music, hanging out, going play. I mean,
Yeah,
dressing
crazy.
differently. The ripped
Yeah.
jeans. It
Yeah.
started. I mean, video game, arcades. I mean, it was just constant things. There was just so many things to do. It was just.
and our movie with the Crom, it takes place in 1984.
Oh.
So the music's going to be killer for the movie because
Nice.
you have so much music to pick
Nice
from.
soundtrack, right?
So the soundtrack will be great.
Now, do you like movies or television? Did you like theater?
To prefer to do?
Yeah.
Well, when I did the series is a completely different animal than movies. Movies, you're there literally all day long, where in TV, you got to get it in, get it done, and it's got to go. And I did, with this show that was called Desire, I did it for Fox. And the way that I got that role was another crazy thing. We just moved to L.A., my wife and I. And if anybody at this table has ever lived in L.A. or know, you completely different than New York. You're just
Oh, yeah.
brought up a certain way in New York.
Yeah.
So that's the way you behave. So I go into this audition, my very first audition in L.A. This was the Welcome to L.A. Al audition. And I go into this casting place and I see pictures of, as a kid with my dad on the couch, this huge comedian actor. Watched all the movies. He was part of a team. And I went, wow, why are all of his? I'm trying to figure it out. Well, make a long story short, it was a relative that was the casting director. So I went, wow, this is great. You know, looking at all these classic movies that I think it was the grandfather that did. So we walk in, and there was a show that was being cast. I don't know if you guys ever watched it. It was a show called Movies for Guys Who Like to Watch Movies. I think it was TBS or something like that. So they needed a host, so they called me in. When I got in the room, any questions? No. And the cue card was up, so I read it. And as I got down to the bottom, the lower I got to the bottom, the writing shrunk that an eagle couldn't see what was on. So I just stopped reading. And I said, I can't read that. And out of the back, I hear yelling, "There's no stopping!" Well, 2 seconds, the New Yorker came right out of me. And I said, "Excuse me? I can't read that. Nobody can read that." And everybody was thinking, "Well, you can't say that to a casting director." Yeah, I can. It's my time in the room. It's my time in the room, and I want to make sure that it's done right. So I said, "I can't read that." So I walked out. What we come to find out was she was repping hosts and didn't tell the client. So when one of her hosts walked in, she changed the cue card, and it was all the proper writing all the way down. When somebody outside that was not her client, she put the bad card in. So
That bitch.
my agent called her after she found out
bias
and
was
ripped her
it.
a new one. And I would never. But anyway, from that, I met this coach, and I told her what happened, and she said, "You know, I want you to read a scene with me." I said, "No, this is just hosting. This had nothing to do with acting." She said, "Let me judge that. Just go out and read the scene and prepare it and come in." So I did. I prepared and I read it with her. And she said, "Class starts tomorrow and you're in it. You can do this." So from that is when I went into the audition for the TV series for Fox.
Nice.
and we wound up doing 72 episodes.
Yeah,
So
Beautiful.
it's crazy how things work. That
Yeah.
Nice,
you know
yeah.
what you think you have planned.
I remember, Desire.
Desire, yeah.
I just, like watching TV. It's tough for me nowadays. It's just like I'm a movie person. As I got older, I just, and I didn't know reality shows. I don't want to watch. I just want to watch like movies, something new that comes out.
Yeah, well, people like my wife watches TV shows, but she binge watches, which is great. Well, you couldn't do that back in the day, but now you can.
Yeah.
So sometimes she's watching it, at night till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and then
I like the old sitcoms because there's nothing like them anymore,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's just nothing like them anymore. The comedy behind it, the mentality of the comedy, and I mean the way they address it, it's just not there no more. And
Yeah, I think that what we see on Netflix, and we lean more towards the dramas. They're really well written. They're a certain caliber. I don't see the comedies, and I do agree with you, that used to really make you laugh through a half hour.
I think the last one I remember was Everybody Loves Raymond. I
yeah,
think that was like
yeah,
the
we were
last
just watching that this
sitcom.
morning. Yeah, yeah. So
I saw an interesting.
What do you think, Mike
I saw an
Marino?
interesting interview.
There's a good
with
comedy
Red
on my YouTube
Skelton.
channel. It's called Me.
really.
It already got a laugh, and that's not in it.
Talk about somebody who was funny without being vulgar, without to do any of those things. Red was a pretty funny guy, but he was also a genius in that here's a guy who also wrote He wrote symphonies. He wrote symphonies. He was an artist. He was a painter. But the most interesting thing that I got out of this interview with Red Skelton, and maybe the ladies would like this, is that
show was great, Red Skelton.
is that he would write his wife a letter every single day, and then she would take the letters and bind them in books. Books at home.
Wow.
So there was a collection of all these letters that he's written to his wife over the years that she collected.
He had a great
Wow.
show, Red Skelton show. Yeah.
What's
But-
that worth?
But the point, but here's a guy, he's a comedian, and if you watch the Red Skelton show, never needed to go, obscene or vulgar to get a laugh, and I thought that was pretty interesting.
That's pretty interesting. It just brought up, my dad would listen to every show. And somehow he felt that he can critique what I did if he didn't like something. So Dad was a little out of the age demo that I was playing to, but he felt that it was okay to pick up the phone and, what'd you do today at a little after 2? What? Well, he said, you played that song. I was listening to the words because he didn't know what lyrics were. I said, yeah. And he said, it's a little dicey, no? And I said, well, Dad, I don't pick the music anymore. They have somebody else that picks the music. But he would call on a regular basis with something like that. It's a little, why are you playing that stuff? And I said, well, Dad's popular. That's, what people want to hear. Then he would also complain if we played the longer versions. Because he grew up in a period of Frank Sinatra. It was like 2 minutes, the song was over.
Right.
2.5 minutes. We're playing stuff on a 12-inch that went on
12-inch,
for
yeah,
10, 12 minutes. And he said, how long was that record you had on today? But he would do that on a regular basis. That and the trips up the avenue when I was on every day. He went into every store. And somehow he thought this was okay to do, that we just laughed at it. He would go into the bagel store, and they'd have me on. He said, it's my son. So it started where, the people behind, he's an older guy, so the people are, yeah, sure, he's your son.
Yeah.
But he would carry my pictures, my publicity shots, in his pocket.
He was a proud dad.
So you got to think about what maniac, if it's not his father, would have Al's picture, right? So he would give it to them, and they would give him like 3 dozen bagels and charge him for one. And when I would go over to eat, he'd open the refrigerator, and it was packed with bagels. So I would turn to him, and I say, Dad, what are you going to do with 3 dozen bagels? And he said, not the point. They gave it to me. And that was his. And he said, and make sure you say hello to them tomorrow. So I had a list of when I went over to eat once a week of who I had to say hello to.
On the air.
On the air. Because that was they gave me this, and I said, okay, Dad, if you're going to do this, go to the steak store.
Yeah.
Go to the butcher. Go to bagels. What are you going to bagels?
Go to the
So
fish market.
that's what he would
Get
do.
some lobster
Or he
tail.
would get a pound of something at the Italian deli, but they would give him 3 pounds.
Nice.
But
Nice.
this is what he did. And the New York premiere of Rocky, when it first comes on, they have a real tight close-up of my face.
Rocky IV or
Rocky
Rocky-
Four.
okay.
Rocky IV. And on a screen in the theater, it's huge, and it's just your face.
Yeah.
We laugh about it all the time. Rest in peace, my dad. But he stood up in a theater,
That's my son.
and that's exactly what he said. The theater was completely packed, and he stood up next to my mom. I was sitting on one side, and he stood up and pointed and went, "That's my son." And I could feel myself going, "Dad, what are you doing?" I'm sliding into some
Great story.
That's good.
That's great. Dad was,
right?
yeah,
Oh,
it was.
man.
But you know,
Sure.
the pride, especially with the Italian pride, it got carried away. I guess we can say a little bit. But
Let me. Wait, I gotta think. Napolitan?
my mother's side and my father's side was Barese.
Bades. Oh, yeah, there's a Bades over there.
Buddy.
But they would go back and forth all the time. That because there's different dialects.
Yeah.
And every dialect accuses the other dialect. That's slang. You're not
Yeah.
speaking proper.
You're not Italian.
So my mother would always say to him, "That's not Italian. That's slang. You don't know how to speak."
They said Napolitano.
Yeah,
But there's a Napoli-
Napolitans always thought that they were whatever.
Well, Napolitans would say "Acegabid," but "Acegabid Guazanin," as opposed to Barese "Acapit," but "Acapit Guazanin."
But they're great. They're great memories, man. Of when they're gone, you really miss them. So you see certain things that he would watch it every time it was on. If he knew it was going to come on at 2:00 in the morning, in those days they didn't have recorders, so he had to get up, to watch it. And I would say, "You've seen that movie 1,000 times." He says, "It's all right, I want to watch." And he would get up at 2:00 in the morning and just watch it.
Yeah.
That's great.
Nothing like even my father, like the stuff that he used to tell me. You go back, there was a guy in the Baez who broke up with his girlfriend and couldn't take it anymore, and he couldn't. He went nuts and he jumped in the well, and then later on he told my father, he goes, "I'm never gonna do this ever again over a girl. When I jumped in the well, halfway down, I said, 'What the hell did I just do? Who's gonna get me out?'" So, but just the stories is just amazing when you talk about your father. I think about just stuff that just pops
Yeah,
in
it
my
just
head.
brings back
But
wonderful.
I want to ask you, WKBW.
Buffalo.
Oh, that's what that was. Okay, because I never heard.
11 months of hell.
Oh,
Yeah. I had gone up to Buffalo. This radio station in Buffalo covered the eastern seaboard at night. So I broadcast to 17 states. So
Wow.
getting winners from Virginia and North Carolina was nothing because they were 50,000 watts. They were huge. And the first snowfall.
But you were from Brooklyn. You had to drive to Buffalo. You had to live there.
No, I was on the air in New York already, so they had offered me the job because I left the station I was in New York. So they offered me the job, and I said, "This station on your resume, if you have this on your resume, you can write your own ticket." So I took the job until I saw the first snowfall in Buffalo. Now, I'm born and raised in Brooklyn, but I despise cold weather. I just don't like it.
Join the club.
But I thought it was
Amen
cold
to
in
that.
New York until I went to Buffalo. It was brutal. And so at about 11 months, I said, I can't do this. I can't stay here anymore. And then KTU called me one day on the air and said, come home. So the rest, I guess, is
one time in my life, I went to Buffalo. One time.
brutal.
And it was a snowstorm.
Brutal.
3 feet of snow.
Yeah.
3. I had to walk on snowshoes. I mean, seriously, it was you could not walk out the house. You had to walk on snowshoes.
You're in trouble when the guy that picks you up at the airport to bring you into town tells you, go to the store tomorrow and get a huge Parker jacket and leave it in the back of the car. And I said, for
You're
what?
gonna need it.
And he said, because if you break down, you'll never be able to make it to the exit.
Wow.
Walking, if you have to leave your car and walk to an exit, get one that, so if you take a large, get an extra large to put, this is a guy that was born and
Yeah,
raised
so
in
you
that
gotta
town.
have layers.
You ever fall in 3 feet of snow, you can't get up.
So yeah, so I right then and there I knew on my first day this is not the place for me. So I worked hard enough to.
And you
come
went
back
from
home.
there to 92
KTU, yeah.
Now, the artists back then, the freestyle artists,
No, when I came back to KTU, there was still people like the Tramps, the Village
Oh.
People.
Oh.
Freestyle didn't come until way later.
yeah?
That's
Late
when I
80s,
was
right?
on
Yeah, the late
Hot
80s,
97.
Hot 97, right.
Well, it started out as Hot 103.
That's right. That's
and
right. Hot
Then
one.
then we switched to a better frequency, and it became Hot 97. But
Talking about the adjustment that your dad recognized, what about you? When it changed, you had to find that.
well, you
they're
have
waiting
you have an option. The option is you change with it, and you should,
Or you go back to Buffalo.
or you go back to Buffalo. Yeah, or you just pack it up. But I think that if you can move with the times, you become as hip as as the
Absolutely,
time is
right.
because you're presenting it. Although
roll, right.
all of that music, I met some pretty incredible artists, and we became friends for a long time. But the music that I listened to was always rock at home and in my car. And people would ask me that,
Who's your favorite group?
hands down, the Beatles.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
They're hands down. But I would listen to that in my car, and the reason that I didn't listen to the music I played was you get burned out on it. You know, if you're listening to the radio, you can punch out whenever you want. If you're on the radio, you're stuck with it for 4 hours, so it'll burn you out. Like what takes people months to burn out, we burn out of a song in a week because we play it every day, over and over and over again. So to balance that, I would go back home or in the car and listen to what I like. So it became fresh when I went on the air to listen to something completely different.
Right.
You know,
That's like me. I ripped. You know how many radios I ripped out of my car? In my Cadillacs, every time Gloria Gaynor, I Will Survive, come on.
And then you heard it in Italian,
wanted to
remember?
just, well, you looked at her, why, it's her favorite song? Don't tell me that.
No, but
I
then
was
it came,
going like this to rip the radio out of the car.
Were you a
'cause you're-
musician
you're-
now? Were you a musician or obviously you love music?
yeah, I did for a while. I started to play drums.
Oh, you're a drummer, okay.
Then my dad thought it was a little loud in the house, so
I
They
knew
put
it.
holes in the skins.
yeah, we stopped with that.
Speaking of drums, he's not here tonight. He said he was going to try to stop by, but he obviously he's not going to make it. We have Mini Peter from Mini Kiss, who's the drummer for Mini Kiss. He was going to stop in and say hello. We haven't seen him in a while. He probably, because he's around a lot of people, he probably don't want to come to, God forbid he catches anything. You know, we pretty much, a lot of us protect ourselves everywhere else we go. And but Peter even said to me, he goes, you know, I'm around a lot of people, and I'd rather not until this gets straightened out a little bit. But
Yeah, that's good.
So I guess that's what he's doing. One more thing. Now, out of all the things you did, is there anything that sticks with you the most that you're more proud of than anything overall? That you, like your crown moment, like something that you're just, like you got the script on the wall, so I'm assuming that has something to do with it. But
I think when Sly turned to me in the middle of a club and said, you know, I want you to be in Rocky IV, that split second in your mind, you play that over and over again, and then you're walking into his home for the first time and you're breaking bread with him. You're trying to be as cool as possible in the exterior. Inside, you're going, oh my God, I can't believe I'm sitting in this man's house. You know, you do that, but then you're playing games of just be cool, you know, trying to be cool. But it's just I think it's just a point where I'm just a kid from Brooklyn. That's it.
are you still in Brooklyn?
No.
Oh, okay.
But now, because you can't afford Brooklyn.
Are you
half
in
of Brooklyn-
Jersey?
I live in New Jersey.
Oh,
now,
I didn't
yeah.
know that. I did
Yeah, I
not
used
know
to
that.
live in Franklin Lakes, which is
Oh my God!
2 minutes
Tony
from here.
Lips. You go to Tony Lips lately?
We haven't
Frankie
been there
Valley
for a while.
Longa, we're
yeah,
friends
yeah,
with
yeah,
Frankie.
yeah,
Yeah, we're friends.
But you know, I think when if you always keep that in mind where you're from
And Nikki
and
Valley
how you
Longa, I gotta mention.
and how you grew up, you were just this kid in a Brooklyn neighborhood that your parents gave you a great work ethic, and you brought that to you. And my dream was always to be on the air in the biggest city in the world, New York. And at the time that I was honing my skills, I was on Philadelphia, and Philadelphia is just a phenomenal city. So Philadelphia put me on the map in order to come home to New York.
Nice. I just want to tell you, Doc, I don't, when you scratch the.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You could hear it.
So
I got a question for you. I got two questions for you. All right. Do you have children?
no.
Oh, because I was going to ask, when your children do something really great, do you go, oh, that's my kid?
But I have a ton of nieces and nephews, and you know we've gone through that.
Oh, I could see doing that easily. My father was very quiet. I can't see him doing it, but I could see myself doing it for my niece. You know,
Sure.
and
Sure.
That's just.
And you know, when you take a step back, I mean, for instance, just asking me on a show like this, I've watched your stuff many times on YouTube. You know, very funny. And you're sitting with these people that admire you, and I always looked at that of admire me. No. I admire these people. You know, I remember the Cousin Bruceys of the world, and
Oh, yeah.
when you were a kid.
Right.
And you'd never think in a million years that he even knows you exist because he's of a certain level. And then when you finally meet somewhere, I know who you are. I listen to you all the time. You take a step back and go, you listen to me? It's like, no, I listen to you. So that's probably that, and maybe the very first station in New York was my proudest moment, that I got that phone call.
Nice.
That you were able to come home.
I have actually a moment I want to share. I was so proud to see my son excelling in volleyball. And the rival team was Lakeland. You know, we're from Fairlawn. And so he played a very big, important role in making that happen, you know, in winning the Northern Sectional State Championship. And what I couldn't understand is there was a few of the kids that he went to school with, and they were holding up, you know, pictures with the sign of some of the kids on the team. And I'm looking around, and he really did extremely well, and he helped win the game. And so I was so ecstatic. I grabbed him. I went down on the floor. I grabbed him, and I put him on my shoulder, and I was jumping up and down with him like it was one of the signs. And I never thought in a million years I would do that, but I was
I don't think that you could probably, no matter
Yeah.
how precise you get in that, the way you just were, I don't really think that you can have people understand what that feels like. I mean, I used to see it in my father's eyes, and my mother was just, your father did this yesterday, she would report. But in watching him, when you walked in a room, he would never even introduce me by my name. All he would say is, "This is my son." Because you know, and I would see that in his eyes, and it was, you miss it. You know, you miss it a lot of what those days were like. But I guess he got, you know, for me it was business. For your parents, they're sitting back, especially if your parents have nothing to do with the entertainment business. So it's sort of, where did you come from? Where did you get this talent that you could do this? Because they were nowhere near. You know, they were just average people that worked average jobs.
My
That's
my
great to have.
son
That's
writes and produced his own off-Broadway plays. He's got about 6 or 7 that he's done. And if you're in my studio at home, my man cave, on the wall are the postcards that he sent out with the you know, sort of like the picture
Yeah.
of the logo or the promo for the show.
Yeah.
You know, and so I can relate to your dad by saying, yeah, that's my son. That's
Yeah.
what my son's
Yeah,
doing.
and you know, the only thing to take away it is that people till today contact me all the time, Facebook or where. So the negative that Facebook can bring to see how many lunatics are really out in the world that you can see every day, it also brings people to share their memories of you. So that's the part. Because, you know, you walk into a studio alone every day, and yet there's people that listen to you every day. So there's people that are watching your movie on a regular basis, and you touch them differently. So I always appreciated that.
So did you ever actually do live broadcasting out of like the Palladium or
Yeah,
Studio
we
54
did
or-
big on hot. We used to call them hot nights, and we'd get 7,000 people.
Damn.
Yeah, on a whatever night we picked.
Hot night, this Friday night.
Hot night. It was called Hot Night. So Hot Night 1, Hot Night 2, and we would broadcast a lot of big memories too. We would broadcast from the Sons and Earl
It should
Feast.
sound like this. Like, at least if I can still do it. I don't know if it was the same thing, but they used to have something on 92. Used to go, wait. Hot mix, hot mix, hot mix, hot mix, hot mix, hot
See that I remember. That's amazing. I mean, it's that one little drop you remember. That's amazing. Or when we were on Hot, it would be from the top of the World Trade Center. People will write that to me. And you're reading you're reading that. I appreciate it more now, actually, than I did at the time, because you're so immersed in your career and what you're doing.
Well, can you roll one of your favorites right now?
No.
That's not happening. No. Top. I remember that.
We want to thank you though.
thank
Is
you.
there any websites, anything you would like to just mention? Promotions?
Yeah, if you go to my Facebook page and you ask to be a friend and you're not a lunatic, what we do between...
I want to thank you for accepting my
thank
friend
you.
request.
Thank you.
Just making
Oh,
this
thank
happen.
you.
Shut up. You said
Thank
you
you.
want to, right?
But,
Hey, Al, I'm Joey Cat.
but
also
if you go to my Facebook page, we promote what we're doing, and we put a lot of our personal stuff on there. When my wife is in the mood, she likes me to make a pizza, so we'll show whatever one we made, that day, and little things that we're doing.
Yeah, I saw that. That was
Yeah,
good.
yeah, and we have a 14-year-old German Shepherd, and he's on. He's
I know.
not a lot of time left.
Yeah.
So his birthday just. So we do things like that that are a little bit more personal. But as we're moving along with our,
I'm sorry for what you're
movies
going
and
through.
TV.
I know
Thank
what
you.
I know what it's
It's
like.
tough.
It's
It's tough,
it's terrible.
especially when you see what they once were.
Yeah.
and how vibrant they were.
Right.
And especially as a German Shepherd.
I never got a dog to this day because I saw my sisters what they went through
What
with
you go
theirs,
through. Yeah,
we lost
and
ours
my
last
father
March.
always told me, if you're gonna get a dog, you're gonna need to spend time with the dog, and if you can't spend time with the dog, don't get a dog. And I never got a dog because I really don't. I can't have a dog because I don't have time for it.
Yeah, and with our thing, we kept it that we gave him an Italian name. So
Rav.
his name is Dante.
Dante.
Yeah,
Dante.
Dante.
So
I like that.
even though he's a German Shepherd, he's an Italian name.
Well, just want you to know, our prayers are with Dante.
Thank
and,
you.
We really,
Thank you.
We do. We want to thank you and Marilyn, Al Bandiero and Marilyn Bandiero.
Marlene.
Arlene.
Marlene.
Oh, why do I say
Marlene.
Marilyn? Why am I
Look at
saying
Marilyn Monroe. She's that good looking, I know, but
Arlene, I'm sorry, Arlene.
That's
Why
okay.
did I think Marilyn? I don't even know. I'm sorry.
He was calling
But
Tommy Tony.
we want
I
to thank
know.
you so much and
Thank
really
you.
appreciate. And listen, we're your family now.
Yeah, thank
All
you.
right. And look, I really wish you well with your movie, and
Thank you.
I wish you the best. And we the Wiseguyz show are doing a lot of things coming up. Hopefully, with this COVID calms down and goes away maybe one day, and we have so many things we are a part of and are supposed to be doing, and if things get better, we'll be back out, and you're always welcome to come. And I guess I'm gonna have Biagio give you the tickets.
Yeah.
Hopefully we
these
have
the,
great
these are
weather.
the official tickets?
Those are official tickets. Hopefully Sunday.
You'll see Mike Marino live too.
And that's right. Well, I apologize to Mike taking up so much
No,
time.
Mike's not going. Mike,
gonna be here till
he's on the payroll. He's on the payroll. He can't go nowhere. He's on. Look at the poster. Show them the poster. He's on
Well,
the
you're gonna
poster.
be
He
there.
can't-
Mike's on the page. Here he is. See,
there's a
Mike.
contract right
If he
there,
leaves,
Mike.
if he leaves, contract's broke.
Well, it was great to come here. I get asked to do some, but we're in the middle of putting a movie together, and that takes up all your time.
Well, if you
when
may,
when you
before
send me the note, I appreciate it.
Yes, and if you're into doing podcasts and you want to come here and join us, you're always welcome to.
Thank you.
And
Thank you very
I want
much.
to thank you all for
Well,
coming.
thank you for the food. It was
I know. Look, we're known for our hospitality.
Oh, yeah.
Mike will tell you every time you come here, you're going to eat good. You don't have to go stop and get nowhere.
and we brought
Thanks, Mark.
we brought a bottle of prosecco, because why would you bring champagne into an Italian thing? We brought prosecco.
Please someone gets
Thank
that.
you
So we
so
brought
much.
an Italian champagne.
can we open it now? and
You
have
can open it. Sure, that'd be
celebrate
great.
together
Right.
before you
But
go.
yeah, we could do that. But we want to take a what?
Do the commercial so we can take a group picture just in case it's
Yeah, we're gonna not go to commercial. We're gonna do commercial after the first video that we're gonna play. Me, Joey Cat, and Nikki Voices went down to we told you we were gonna expose your specialty, so we decided to go hit another place up, and it happened to be in Newark, New Jersey. Me, Joey Catalano, and Nikki Voices went to stop at this place called Krug's Tavern on 118 Wilson Avenue in Newark, New Jersey. They are famous for their hamburgers, and we're going to let you know, we're going to show you what we did down there right now, and we're going to say goodbye to Al Bandiero and his wife Arlene. I got it right, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
And we want to thank them so much, and hopefully we have a great day on Sunday, and we'll see them on Sunday, and we'll have a great day there too.
Before
Thank
you
you.
cause off, you're gonna do something.
Oh, we're going to do an hot
You're
song.
gonna let you do the uno due tre, and then we'll say
I like to listen to. I like the way you guys do it.
All right, well,
You guys do it so well.
Mike.
I
And
like
Mike,
it.
will you lead it?
We just need a little bit
Do
louder.
the count.
Go ahead.
1, 2, 3.
thank you so much. We'll see you right back after these messages.